Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be covering my Clash supports tier list, so let's get into it. To begin with, Yuumi is my only champion F tier. Yuumi currently is really bad, obviously been nerfed pre-rework, and then I'll update her based on how strong she is coming out of rework. MF Pantheon, these are fairly niche or just kind of int picks at the moment. MF can work as a support, but she's very item dependent. Things like Leandries and Demonic are kind of very necessary. And just overall as a poke barn champion, there are better options, which is why I put her in the D tier. Pantheon isn't a bad engaged support, but with the amount of options we currently have and a lot of them being buffed to a really strong point, Pantheon is by far the weakest, so I definitely recommend staying away from him. A lot of the C tier champs fall into the category of they're niche, they have situations where they work, or they're kind of overrated. Things like Nami and Lulu are really heavily overrated supports. These champs do work quite well in certain comps and can have good pairings, but for the most part, some of the other enchanters are just straight up stronger or provide more, their buffs are just stronger as of the moment. Lulu W has been nerfed a significant amount just to put it into a more balanced spot, whereas something like a Renata W is still really strong, provides kind of similar amounts of buffs in movement speed and damage, movement speed and attack speed, whilst also giving the bailout passive. Just overall making Renata kind of stronger than Lulu as of the moment. Her R has also got a lot of value, whereas Lulu R, as much as it has a lot of value, I'd argue that Renata's as it's more of a control tool, whereas Lulu is a self-peel and health increase. A lot of these champs do have good uses though. Like Twitch, for example, can be considered an S-tier champion when you pair him with champs which function as well as solo laners, and also the Twitch has played it a lot and can roam around the map finding good angles, and it's just overall well versed in playing the champ. Of course, if you play the champ badly, then you will just end up screwing over your duo laner, and then you can end up kind of inting around the map, and overall the pick becomes useless, and your downer team member was also kind of stunting your ADC. So a lot of these champs are kind of resource hungry, require conditional playstyles. Things like the Shaker is also a fairly conditional champion. He's not bad. I'd consider Shaker actually a fairly good support. He's just going to be harder to play, and I'd only recommend playing him if you're a one-trick or someone who knows how to play the champion quite well. Seraphine, not great of an enchanter, but are just better variants of champs, kind of like Seraphine. Seraphine I definitely recommend as an APC though. Really powerful pairings within the support role make her quite good as someone who kind of needs items to spike. Roa, Archangels, Rylai, Zonya's all really powerful in her. Just overall being a util bot, she provides a lot more usage in ADC. Karma, definitely a lot weaker than she was, but things like Shirley still give her good value. Yeah, I talked about Lulu. Morgana Black Shield just has a lot of value, but overall her damage is a bit low at the moment, and most people want cleanse and can just cleanse her Q. And overall, they're just other champions which can just function as better kind of champs than Morgana. Going into the B tier, Jaime, good pairings. Overall, things like Ashe and just a couple of the stronger ADCs work quite nicely with him, but he's kind of reliant on those pairings, and once again, you have to know how to play the champion itemize correctly. You don't want to be wasting too much gold, because then you'll stunt yourself and become kind of useless later on into the game. Definitely want to keep those items and just stay strong. Janna, a lot weaker than she used to be. Overall, just been nerfed a couple of times, and enchanters being, well, hit with nerfs towards the items and their overall mana regen. Janna's taken a bit of a hit. Still a pretty good champion, good disengaged, good champ into something like an Alistar, where they want to engage and you can use your Q as a really good peel tool. Xerath and Vel'Koz I've put here is, they're pretty good poke champs. They do a lot of damage, but they're kind of item hungry and you've got to be able to land your skill shots. Other than that, though, they're good champs. I'd honestly consider C to S all fairly viable supports. You just have to pick them in the right spots, and just overall making sure you're picking the right support for the right situation is really crucial at the moment. So you can counterpick a lot of supports, but the S tier definitely stand out quite heavily above the rest. They have really good uses, or they have certain things within their kit which just make them incredibly valuable. Swain, really good champ. Just good overall damage output, really good drain tank, has good pairings with items like Leandries and Rylai's. Zhonya's Electrocute will work quite nicely on him. Just overall, lots of value within the items at the moment, make him quite powerful as a champion. Braum, really good into engaged champs, can peel quite nicely for your ADC. His E has a lot of value into things like Jinx Rocket, Ornhorn, just overall projectiles which you can delete. Make him quite powerful. Renata, obviously talked about the value of Renata. Leona, really good engage. I think Leona's a really good support, actually. Just not as good as a lot of the other engaged options at the moment, which is why she's in beta. Bard is kind of a harder champ to play, which is why I'm going to put him in the B tier, but I think Bard can be considered an S tier champion if you play him correctly. His shrines provide a lot of healing, his Q does a lot of damage, he overall does a lot of damage. You got to be able to use your R correctly though to like block rift hits and just overall save teammates. It can be quite hard to play, and I definitely recommend good pairings, things like the Caitlyn, where you can set up traps quite nicely with your Q and R. Moving on to A lot of these champs are really strong engaged champs as of the moment, be buffed into a point where they are good contenders with a lot of the range options. Things like Rao always being quite strong, kind of goes under the radar, has really good pairings. Radiant makes him really powerful. Same goes for Alistar, really good pairings. Radiant makes him really good. Just stop building Locket on him. I don't know why you'd build a Locket on an engaged champion when something like Even Shard for his damage amp and Radiant for more health and just healing make him so much stronger. Locket is a very bizarre option for Alistar. Lux, of course, does a lot of damage, has really strong pairings. The binding makes her really powerful. Ashe, good poke, good CC with the R, just makes her really powerful as a champion, a poke tool. Does have vulnerabilities, of course, towards things like Nautilus and Pyke, who can just assassinate her and just lock her down fairly easily. Maokai did get hit by nerfs towards jungle, but still a really powerful champ in the support role where you are itemizing more tanky. Amumu got hit by some nerfs, but overall still relatively strong within the support role. He's fairly easy to execute, does a lot of damage, has a lot of tools to just stick onto people, and his R is a really powerful tool. Zyra does a lot of damage, kind of similar to Brand, except for I'd say her CC and just overall damage is more reliable and kind of has some stronger pairings, which is why I'd consider her a stronger champion. Zidian, just overall his speed boost, the XP you can give towards teammates, and the slower or just really valuable tools on this champion. He kind of flies under the radar of nerfs, and overall it just leaves him in a fairly powerful spot, making sure you're just building a lot of CDR, getting towards the later game power spikes where your R is on a short cooldown, does a lot of healing. It's really important. Overall, champ has a lot of power. Definitely play him if you can. Good pairings as well. Soraka and Sona both really strong healers at the moment. Sona, more you got to get to like as for ADC, you've got to be able to play well with it. Things like Lucian pair quite nicely with Sona. You press Q, Lucian goes in, kind of like Vanami, damage amp. But yeah, you just got to make sure you're playing with a Sona correctly. This champ can be really powerful, but you just have to, it's just knowledge of playing with it. Soraka, overall, just a lot of map pressure with her R, and just the overall amount of healing she can provide is kind of nuts. Just not as strong as a lot of the S tier champs. So the S tier, moving on. Rakan, incredibly overpowered at the moment. He does so much damage. He provides so much healing. His shielding is really valuable. He has a lot of escape tools. He's good itemization. So overall makes this champ really, really powerful. Definitely consider playing Rakan and just adding him to your champ pool. He is not being nerfed this patch, so he will be the S+ tier champ going into this clash. Senna, incredibly strong champ, opens up a lot of pairings in the ADC role. Things like Cho'Gath, Tahm Kench, Seraphine, Karthus. There's just a lot of options with Senna. Make sure you abuse those pairings, and you have a really strong bot lane, making sure you pick up all your souls as well. It's really powerful, following your jungle around when you want to get things like Raptors and Krugs. Just overall making sure your soul count stays high. You want to stay relatively around the 5 per for every minute that has passed, making sure you're at 5 souls, I think it is. So what, 10 minutes, 50, 20 minutes, 100. Yeah, I think that's the correct thing for Senna. I think that's how it's supposed to go. I could be wrong, but I think that's correct. Taric, a really good anti-engage support, also does a lot of damage, kind of he's just relatively strong in most departments at the moment. His healing's good, his shielding's good, his anti-engage is good, and his damage is good. Just overall makes him a really powerful champion. Definitely consider him into an anti-AD comp as well, because a lot of his things scale off armor. Annie, just overall really powerful as a champion still, has been hit by 2 lots of nerfs, still really good. Rylai's and Shreddies is the way to go. Her E has insane value, her Tibbers has also got insane value, really good sticking potential on the on the character Tibbers. Blitz, his hook and his overall pressure is just insane at the moment. He does a lot of damage. He, like most people just forgot about Blitz after he had all those changes done to him, and it just left him in a really powerful spot in the support role. He doesn't scale badly, like his hook will always have value throughout the game. Just making sure you apply a lot of pressure with the hook is the main way to go about him. He just wins lanes because of it. Fresh, really powerful at the moment with all the Q buffs. It just means you can chain Qs and continuously output a lot of damage, and he's a lot easier to play, which is fine for the champion, but it's put him in a really strong spot at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets nerfed soon, but for the moment, abuse him with certain pairings, and you have a really strong bot lane. Yeah, Q has insane value, Lantern will always have insane value, E does a lot of damage, combined with the fact that it, the displacement is also just really powerful, and then the cage does a lot of damage. Making sure you pick up swords on Fresh is important as well, but overall, these are the main 6 I would recommend playing. All of them are extremely valuable in certain situations, and just the overall value of a lot of supports just makes them really good. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in maybe a recap of all of the tier lists, and then I will do an update to all the changes that's happened in the patch and how these affect the Clash tier list. For the most part, I've made the Clash tier list now before the patch goes through, because we'll have very limited time on the patch, but I will point out like things which are OP, whether like Yumi's OP, whether Gangplank's just not really playable anymore. I think he still will be, but stuff like that, for example. And I'll do an item tier list. So thank you guys for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.